my lovelies, it's Margaret, and today I'm going to nerd out about my top 10 reads of 2017. I'm going to start off with a disclaimer that these are in no particular order. I will tell you which one was my favorite read of 2017, but these are just my 10 favorite books that I read in 2017. Again, no order. If your book isn't the first book, I'm sorry, I just stacked them from the smallest book to the largest book, which is a comic book. So they're in no particular order other than size. The first one I'm going to talk about is actually the entire series, but I only have the first book. It's The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. If you've watched my intro video, which you should, I'll put a link down below, you'd know that The Scorpio Races is one of my favorite books of all time. I think I mentioned that in the intro video. I know I mentioned it in one video. I'm not entirely sure which one, but I know that I mentioned it. Considering how much I love The Scorpio Races, The Raven Cycle had a lot to live up to. It did not disappoint. I absolutely loved the world that she created in this one. I loved the way that magic interplays in the world. I loved all of the characters. I think I adopted every single one of them, at least the fur boys in blue. Basically, this series is about a group of friends who are looking for a Arthur-type king who has been supposedly put in a magical sleep and transported over the ley lines into Virginia. 4 books of the shenanigans between these 5 friends and the relationships and interplay between all of them. And it was really fun to watch them grow as people as they were trying to find this larger-than-life Welsh king. I definitely recommend it. The entire series was all 4 or 5 stars. Depending on the books. The next book that I'm going to talk about is The Roses of May by Dot Hutchison. This woman has not written a book that I have disliked yet. No pressure. This is the second book in the Collector series. The third book should be coming out later this year. It follows in the few months after the Butterfly Garden, covering a little bit about what the FBI agents that we met in that volume are doing, as well as introducing Priya Sravasti. She is the sister of a victim in one of the cases that these 3 agents covered many, many years ago. Her sister was killed by a serial killer who likes to kill girls in the spring and leave their bodies decorated with flowers. This was a much more lighthearted book than The Butterfly Garden. You don't have to have read The Butterfly Garden to read this book, although it will help to understand a couple of the side stories because we do revisit some of the characters from book 1. I know we're going to continue on with the FBI agents in book 3. I'm really looking forward to that, but this was one of my favorite reads. Her characters are always hilarious and so lifelike, and she just has the prettiest language when she describes stuff. She makes me wish I wrote contemporary because the descriptions that she uses are just so fantastically oddball that like it's perfect for the situation, but you would never in a million years have thought of it that way. The next book that I'm about to mention you may have heard of even if you're not really into the YA scene, and that is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. They're making a movie out of it. I'm super excited for that. I've seen the cast and some of the pictures from the movie and I'm just like, ah! So anyways, this follows Star, who is a black student going to a mostly white high school while still living in a black neighborhood. At the very beginning of the book, Star escapes a party by getting a ride home with her friend Khalil, a boy that she used to hang out with when she was much younger. Unfortunately, they get stopped on the way home, and as a result of that, Khalil ends up getting shot because the police officer thought a hairbrush was a gun. This event rocks her community. And the rest of the book is about Star dealing with the fallout of whether she should come forward and testify or not. And if it'll be safe for her to testify, what would be the consequences of that. This was a heart-wrenching book. It was a very good read. It was an eye-opening read. It gives you a lot to think about, and that is one of the things that I really liked about it, is because it doesn't pull punches. I personally was already aware of a lot of the stuff that this book covered, but I do think it could be a very eye-opening read for some people. I do like that it did a fantastic job of getting into everyone's head and showing all points of views of the community that Star lives in as they're trying to figure out how to deal with this tragedy. The next book on the list is actually a very dark book, probably by many standards, and since the word dark is in the title, I don't think anyone's surprised by that. It is 3 Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. This book is about 3 sisters, triplets actually, who are in line to become queen. However, their island of Finburn has a rather bloody ritual to decide who is queen. The 3 queens spend their first 16 years training. It is then their goal to kill their other 2 sisters and inherit the throne. Now, I've read both books in this series. I can't wait for the next one. The end of this book is the twist at the end of the book that got it. on my list. I cannot recommend this series enough. It is super, super, super interesting to read, and I love all of the characters. That one was dark. The next one is a little bit more lighthearted. I absolutely loved When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. This is one of the few, like, straight-up romance books that I've ever liked. It's a meet-cute, obviously. It's about Dimple. She is a programmer. She has an app that she wants to make, so she will be competing in a summer program to get the funds and the support to make this app. Now, her parents are very traditional Indian parents, and they really want to set up a marriage for her. So she ends up meeting Rishi Patil, who, unbeknownst to her, is supposed to be there to court her and try and convince her to marry him. Unfortunately for him, Dimple is a very career-minded girl who has no time for boys. This is a really, really sweet, sweet book. I enjoyed it very much. It was hilarious. This is another one I listened to. The voices were on point for this. I really like the conversation that this sparks of traditional values and where you come from versus where you are now. I really liked how they handled that situation and that topic. The next one is another sequel. It is King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. It is the third book in the Red Queen series. I can't talk too much about it because that'll be giving away a whole lot of spoilers for books 1 and 2. However, this has become one of my all-time favorite series. I did not realize that there were 4 books in this series. Can I tell you about this for a minute? I did not realize that there were 4 books in this series, and so we're getting to the last 15 minutes of the audiobook, and I'm listening to it and I'm going, oh no, I'm not gonna like how this ends. Completely freaking out, going, oh no, this is gonna end so badly. How is she gonna wrap this up in a good way in the next 15 minutes? So I pulled out my phone and I looked up, and there was a 4th book. I thought it was over, guys. I thought I was finally free, but no, there's a 4th book. I would definitely recommend picking up this series. It is about Mare Barrow. She is a red living among silvers. Now, in her world, the people are divided into basically 2 people. There's the silvers who have powers. They are the elite. They kind of run the government, all of that. The king is a silver. And then there are the reds who end up in a lot of the servant positions. They end up in the slums and just in a very much lower quality of life. It's a dystopian kind of post-apocalyptic type thing. And then Mare discovers that she has powers in a very public way. So they're not able to just like get rid of her. They kind of have to figure out what they're going to do with her. And so the rest of the series is the fallout from that and the choices that are made and some of the tragedies that happen because of her coming onto this scene. I would definitely recommend this if you were into fantasy, if you were into dystopian, if you like weird books about how the world could end up if there was a nuclear apocalypse. This is the book for you. The next one is my top favorite read of 2017. Like, there was no question about it. I thought for like 2 seconds that it could possibly be Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, but no. It is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I loved this book. So, okay. The Wrath and the Dawn. I'm going to try and use coherent words to discuss this book. The Wrath and the Dawn is a retelling of Shahrazad's story from 101 Arabian Nights. Shazi is just an ordinary girl from Khorasan until she decides that she wants revenge for her best friend's murder. The twist being that her best friend was killed by the Caliph of Khorasan, who marries a new girl every day and has her murdered at dawn. You know, that doesn't sound like the basics for a fantastic love story, but trust me, this is one of those love stories that needs to go down in history as the greatest love story of all time. I probably will say that about a lot more things because I'm all about the romance, but like this was the perfect balance of romance and fantasy and angst, and it was just perfect. I loved all the you're gonna hear that about every single one of these. I loved all of the characters. I loved the way she wrote words and the way she developed the story and the way she unfolded it was fantastic how she unfolded the mystery of why all these girls were having to die, because it's not really a choice kind of thing, which sounds really weird, but just read the book. Read the book. This was my favorite book of the entire year. The next book on this list is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. She has become one of my favorite writers. This is the third book in the Shades of Magic series. It starts with a darker shade of magic, and it is about a world where there are 3 parallel Londons. There's our London, Grey London, with no magic whatsoever. There is Red London, and London that is full to the brim with magic. And then there is White London, a London that is slowly dying as the magic is seeped out of the world. It follows 2 characters, Kel and Lila Bard, who are able to travel between the 3 Londons. I can't really talk too much about what happens in this book because, again, huge spoilers for the second book, like humongous spoilers. I'm going to be filming a video later where I talk more in depth on my feelings of this book, but I just was blown away by how well Victoria Schwab was able to take a situation that starts out like the worst you think it could possibly be, and she makes it worse. Like, continually, I didn't think, look at how thick this book is, guys. I didn't think that she was going to be able to keep the story going for this long, and she managed to. I was just in awe that she always found somewhere to go with this book. So I definitely would recommend this series. And this was a fantastic conclusion to the series. I was not disappointed at all. I know I wasn't going to rank these, but this next book was probably my second favorite read of the year. And again, the ending just blew me, like, I'll get there. But it is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This was the first time that I had picked up one of Laini Taylor's books. I know she is very well known for the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, I believe it is. I haven't gotten to that one yet. I'm planning on getting to it this year, though, because Strange the Dreamer was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. This book is about a guy named Laszlo Strange, who is a librarian who is obsessed with the mystical city of Wheat. It's a city that not everyone is sure existed, and everyone is pretty sure that it used to have a different name, but no one can remember what the name was. They just know of it as Wheat. One day, a delegation from Wheat shows up in the city where Laszlo is living, and so he follows them to go see what's going on with this city. The world for this was fantastic. The characters were fantastic. Laszlo was really so adorable, and he's just one of those generally good characters that you like reading about. The other co-protagonist is a young girl who is actually one of the daughter of one of the gods that used to reign over Wheat, or godlike beings. They're not really gods, they just were more powerful than the normal people who lived in the city. And so she tells you at the very beginning of this book how it is going to end, and she delivers on that promise. But, like, I went into this thinking it was a standalone. I was so very wrong about that. Like, I was screaming at the ending of this book. I walked around for about 45 minutes because I did not know what to do with myself after the end of this book. It was just such a surprise and such a twist for me, despite knowing what was going to happen. Like, I thought I had it all figured out, and then she just threw this wrench in my brilliant genius analysis of the plot that I had figured out what was going to happen. She just, like, totally tore it up. So I love this book. It has a fantastic romance, and I'm really hoping that it works out for everyone in the end, because I'm a little worried after that ending. My final favorite of 2017 is Batman Rebirth Volume 4, The War of Jokes and Riddles, written by Tom King, and illustrated by Mikkel Janin. Okay, so I'm about to drop some serious spoilers for you guys, but if you haven't seen it all over Facebook, then you have been living under a rock. So in the final issue of Volume 3, Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, finally gets all of his crap together and proposes to the love of his life, Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, for those of you that aren't in the know. And so Bruce, being Bruce, and being the thoroughly screwed up human being he is, follows that with, hey, hold up, there's something I gotta tell you, it's about Kite Man. And this is about him telling her the very, very terrible, no good, very bad thing that he did that involved Kite Man. It's about a period at the very beginning of his Batman career where the Joker kind of loses his sense of humor, and so he's on this killing spree, and somehow that pisses the Riddler off, and so suddenly there's this, like, division in Gotham between the Joker and the Riddler, and a lot of people are dying. I really liked how he handled the writing of the dual story elements, because you have a little bit in the present day and then you have what Bruce is narrating in the past. I really liked how they mixed that in and kind of kept that through line from Batman 24 all the way to the end of this issue. I will not tell you what her answer is. You're gonna have to guess. I really enjoyed how he wrote Eddie. I liked how he wrote the Joker. It was kind of nice to see him just being his normal psychopathic self. There's just something about the fact that the Joker is unexplainable that is just very comfortable when you're reading it. So I really liked how he handled all of these characters. And that's where I'm gonna finish it for this one. So those are my top 10 reads of 2017. Comment down below. Let me know what was one of your favorite books of 2017. I would love to hear from you. Maybe I'll find a new book. I'm always looking for new books, guys. Always. That's it for now, folks. I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!